Ancient Tamil religion, the inspiration for the Indus Valley seals. The Indus Valley writing was used to produce talismanic seals or amulets. The Harappan seals carry messages written in Tamil addressed to their gods requesting support and assistance in obtaining aram, or benevolence. The goal of the Harappan was the realizing of God. Each god depicted on the seals was probably the totemic deity of a particular Dravidian clan or economic unit. As a result, each god was seen by his followers as one, a god having no equal; two, as a god unaffected by karma; and three, as a god who is the ocean of Aram. European and Indo-Aryan speakers claim the Indus Valley writing has not been deciphered. This is false. Dr. Clyde Winters deciphered the Harappan writing back in the 1980s using Tamil. The Indus Valley status quo refuses to accept this decipherment because it points to the Dravidian origin of the Indus Valley civilization, instead of an Indo-Aryan origin for the script and the people. In this video, we will look at several things. We'll begin with the origin of Indus Valley writing. Next, we're going to talk about the Dravidians of the Indus Valley. Third, we're going to talk about how the Indus Valley writing was deciphered. And number four, we're going to talk about the agamic culture of Tamilar of the Indus Valley. The Indus Valley civilization is quite interesting. It is typified by small cities and numerous inscriptions. Over 4,000 Harappan seals have been found at 20 different sites. The script incorporates 419 signs, but there are around 60 to 70 basic syllabic signs in the Harappan writing. The remaining 359 signs are compounds or ligature signs formed by the combination of two or more basic Harappan signs. There are also 10 ideographic signs in the Harappan writing. Harappan writing appears both on steatite and copper plates. Nearly 90% of the seals are square. The remaining 10% are rectangular. They range in size from a half an inch to around 2.5 inches. The Harappans have left us thousands of written documents. These documents are called seals by archaeologists. The Harappan seals are written in a Dravidian language analogous to Tamil. Scholars early recognized that the Harappans may have spoken a Dravidian language. This view was supported by one, the fact that in West Indus, Brahui, a Dravidian language, is spoken in Baluchistan and Afghanistan. Two, the Rig Veda is written in a form of Dravidian called Sumero Tamil. And three, the presence of Dravidian loanwords in Sanskrit indicated that Dravidian speakers probably occupied northern India and Pakistan before the Aryan invasion of the area after 1000 BC. These Aryans, when they invaded the area, they came in with their gray ware. It is clear that a common system of record keeping was used by people in the 4th and 3rd millennium BC, from Saharan Africa to Iran, China, and the Indus Valley. The best example of this common writing were the Linear A script, Proto-Elamite, Uruk script, and the Indus Valley writing. Although the Elamites and Sumerians abandoned this writing in favor of cuneiform script, the Dravidians, Minoans, Mandi, the creators of the Lipico-Berber writing, and Olmecs continued to use the Proto-Saharan script in the 3rd and 2nd millennium BC. Using the evidence of cognate scripts and the analogy between the Dravidian language and the languages spoken by people using cognate scripts, it was able to make 3 assumptions leading to my decipherment of the Harappan writing. This decipherment was made possible by the use of symbols from what's called the Mandi Vai script to interpret Harappan signs. The only difference between the Mandi Vai script and Harappan script was that the signs in the Harappan seals, they should be pronounced and read as Dravidian or Tamil terms. The terms used to express the translation of Harappan signs are taken from Burrell and Imanow's Dravidian Etymological Dictionary. Once the seals were broken down into their syllabic values, we then only had to determine if the Harappan term was a monosyllabic word or it was a term that was made up of only one syllable. It's very important to remember that most Harappan seals only carry a few signs. One of the reasons that there are only a few signs on the Harappan seals is that many of the terms used on the Harappan seals are monosyllabic words. Monosyllabic words usually have a consonant and a vowel. My decipherment of the Harappan seals shows that they do not contain the names and titles of their owners. They are talismans with messages addressed to the Harappan gods, requesting blessings. This is in sharp contrast to the Mesopotamian seals, which were used for administrative and commercial purposes. The Harappan seals illustrate that the Harappan believer wanted from his God 1. A good fate, 2. Spiritual richness, 3. Virtue, 4. Humility, and 5. Perseverance. The Harappans, they were protective armaments found in almost every room in the city of Mohenjo-Daro. This shows that the Harappans really believed that these seals could offer them a talismanic or an amulet future that would be really good. Using the evidence of cognate scripts and the analogy between the Dravidian language and the languages spoken by people using cognate scripts, I was able to make 3 assumptions leading to the decipherment of the Harappan writing. 1. It was assumed that Harappan script was written in the Dravidian language. 2. It was assumed that the Dravidian language shares linguistic and cultural affinities with the Elamites, Manding, and Sumerians, all of whom used a similar writing system. This led to a corollary hypothesis that the Harappan writing probably operated on the same principles as the related scripts due to a probable common origin. 3. It was assumed that since the Harappan script has affinity to the Proto-Manding writing, or Libico-Berber, and the Manding language, the Harappan script could be read by giving these signs the phonetic value they had in the Proto-Manding script as preserved in the Vai writing system, since the northern Manding languages like Bambara and Malinki are genetically related to Dravidian languages like Tamil. The distortion of cognition between Vai and Harappan signs on the one hand, and the corresponding relationship of sign sequences in the Harappan and Vai scripts help lead to a speedy reading and decipherment of the Harappan signs. Here we see a comparison of the Harappan signs, Brahui and Vai. This comparison shows that the signs have similar phonetic value. It is the similarity in the phonetic value that allows us to read the Indus Valley writing using Vai signs. To help remember man's goal and gain guidance from the totemic Harappan deities, the Harappans wore the Indus Valley seals. This view is supported by the fact that each square or rectangular seal made of soapstone had a raised boss on the back, pierced with a hole for a carrying string. On the front of the seal, we have the depiction of an ancient totemic god and inscriptions. The Harappan seals were often found by archaeologists in a worn condition. The fact that the seals often had holes drilled in the back suggests that the seals were tied with string and hung around the neck or from belts. Here we can see many of the Harappan gods. The Dravidians had a long tradition of wearing amulets to illustrate their devotion to their gods. K.K. Pillai, in Studies in Ancient Indian Seals, found that many Indian seals from the 3rd century B.C. to the 7th century A.D. portray animals with an inscription above the animal. just like the case in the Harappan signs, which were indicative of the religious views of the owner of the seals. This evidence supports our finding that the Harappan seals were worn or carried by the Harappans to help them remember the Harappan man's goal to obtain the guidance from his deity. The Tamil law writing of the Indus Valley also related to the punch mark coins. Here we can see examples of punch mark coins and symbols from the Indus Valley writing. The history of the Dravidian people make it clear that totems have been popular among these religious people. During the Sangam period, warriors and young maidens wore anklets with engraved designs and or totemic signs. At the beginning of the 20th century, W.T. Elmore reported that while visiting southern India, it was a common practice for children to wear an image of Hanuman around their neck. Elmore also noted that in marriage, a Dravidian wife wore a marriage totem around her neck as a symbol of household worship. Recognition that the Dravidians had a tradition of wearing totems to express their spiritualism allowed me to infer that the Indus Valley seals may have served a similar purpose within the Indus Valley civilization. This view was supported by the similarity of the Indus Valley and Vai Mandi signs. My decipherment of the Indus Valley writing allows me to illustrate the Tamil law religious tradition. I published a detailed grammar and dictionary of Indus Valley signs in the Journal of Tamil Studies. The grammar and dictionary was published in 3 issues of the Journal of Tamil Studies beginning in December 1992. In the dictionary published in the Journal of Tamil Studies, I present 335 signs from the Indus Valley script. Here you can see pages from the Indus Valley dictionary that I published in the Journal of Tamil Studies. As you can see, the signs have the picture of the sign and a definition. When we look at the Indus Valley signs, we have to look at the major sign. One of the major signs, the most popular signs in the Indus Valley, is a sign that's called the unicorn sign. And this unicorn sign has some form of cattle which has a pointed antler. Sometimes they call him a unicorn. Under this animal, we see a manger. This particular god on this seal is called Mao. The manger under the head of Mao is made up of several Harappan signs. It reads Pui Pa, or flourishing condition, thou distributed. Let's look at this seal. Here we have, in a sense, the unicorn figure. We see the Pu sign around the neck, and we note Ipa down at the bottom. In this particular sign, we read Ipotutual tatutu ita itseanau, which means, increase now your servant's virtue, give me rectitude, place here on me your incorruptibility and righteousness. To decipher an Indus Valley sign, you can use my dictionary. First, you find an inscription or seal. Here we find 3 small seals. These seals came from Kanmar, Gujarat. The 3 ceilings have 2 signs plus the god Mao engraved on the ceiling. What you would do is first you would go to my dictionary, and you would look up one of the signs. In this particular, we have a figure that has a man, but this man is made up of several signs. It reads Autu, which means the man is immaculate, the virtuous man, or the pure servant. Next to him, we see the it sound, or sign. This particle has many uses in Harappan. It means to give, it means the past tense, etc. When we look at the signs, then we can go back and we can read a seal. Here we have the inscription and the dictionary reading of the signs. The first sign is Al-Tu. The second sign is I. The signs read, thou art the pure servant. So these inscriptions, or these seals, were meant to reflect the attitude of the bearer, that he was trying to be a pure servant of his God. My decipherment of Harappan seals shows that they do not contain the names and titles of anyone. Right now, let's spend some time looking at the Tamil religion. The unicorn was the main god of the Harappan people. This was the god Mao. There were other gods also associated with the animals depicted on the Harappan seals. The crescent-shaped horn of the oxen or castrated bull on some Harappan seals may represent the mother goddess Kali. The lunar crescent shape of the oxen curved horns recalled the lunar crescent, which was the primordial sign for the mother goddess. Siva was probably represented by the short-horned bull. The elephant on the Harappan seals may have represented Ganesha, or Ganesha, the elephant-headed god of India. In the laws of Manu, it is written that Ganesha is the god of the Sudras, the aboriginal population of India. The Tamilian name for the elephant god is Piolaliyar, Pala, or Viram. The hunter figure on Harappan seals, wearing the horn headdress and armed with the bow and arrow, may have been Muruga, the son of Uma. Pilayar is considered the shrewdest of animals. He is associated with harvest time, abundance, and luck. The appearance of mythological animals on Harappan seals may relate to Pilayar or Ganesha in one of his many transformations. The importance of the Harappan seals as amulets is attested to by the popularity of wearing totems among the Dravidians, as I discussed earlier. Again, the goal of the Harappans was the realization of God. Inspiration of Indus Valley seals shows us that the goal of the Indus Valley citizen was either goodness, fame, or balance. The Harappans wanted to make sure that they lived a life of goodness so that they could spread this to other people. And they felt that the only way you could have a very good society is that people recognize that goodness should be their goal. They meant, in a sense, to seek this whole idea of the realization of God. And by realizing God, the Harappan people hoped to live and to be in a righteous mode. The Harappans saw righteousness as a spotlessly pure mind. Purity of mind was necessary for happiness within. Happiness within may relate to the sign Agapo, the inner path. Aram was attained when man avoided all mental evils, e.g. jealousy, covetousness, and envy. Through the adoption of benevolence, man gained pukal, or fame. He then earned the reward from his God, good things in the present and the world beyond, or in Kumari, the Tamayar paradise. Here we see the famous yogi figure. The yogi figure is a very interesting figure because we see a guy sitting in the yogi position. He has horns. These horns usually represent a dignitary or a dignified person. And surrounding this figure, we see numerous animals, the rhinoceros, tiger, etc. When you read the inscriptions, we find that the inscriptions read, "Give to your servant balance and preserve his righteousness. Increase God's justice and make illumination my fate." The posture of the man and the attitude of yogi clearly suggests the practice of yogi among the Harappans. The buffalo horn headdress indicates that the figure was a Dravidian dignitary, i.e. a man with horns. The association of this figure surrounded by various zoomorphic deities of the Harappans suggests that this seal encouraged its bearer to train his consciousness for a state of perfect spiritual insight and tranquility, so he could serve his God and gain bliss. The search of the yogi for discipline of his mind and body explains the witch inscription among the yogi figure, which says, "Faith provides illumination and increases God's justice. Preserve my righteousness and the glory of your servant." We often find on many Harappan signs the men sign. The men sign is usually a sign that looks like a fish. This means that the appearance of men means that that person is seeking illumination or enlightenment. This would denote the spiritual insight sought by the yogi. The goal of Tamils in the Indus Valley was to realize God. This meant that they wanted to obtain aram, or benevolence. A superior Harappan man was a man or woman who realizes God. The Indus seals make it clear that the Harappans were seeking the avoidance of mental evils, jealousy, covetousness, and etc. Thus the Harappans felt that if they lived a benevolent life, so that they might obtain pukal, or fame, for their right doing. Here we see a very interesting inscription. On this inscription we see this idea of a search for haram. It seems that in the two-sided seal found in the Indus Valley, on one side of the seal we have a forest scene and two bulls with short horns. On the other side we have four signs. The forest scene can probably be interpreted as Ka Siva, or Siva, shelter me. The signs on the opposite side of the seal are men, which is sign number 277 in my dictionary, Tugave, which is sign 136 in my dictionary, Uz, which is sign 123, and Tutu, which is sign 165. Tutu is the reduplication of the term tu. When we read this inscription, what it says is, make virtue and growing admiration my fate, and abundant virtue. Here we see another interesting sign again when we look at Mao. Another interesting Harappan sign is the Harappan sign, which has the unicorn that seems to be in some sort of transformation. On this sign we see the signs reading from right to left, Niltamin Yipo Yatar, which means, O Mao, you and the tree of life are one and the same. Loftiness, illumination, thou give a flourishing condition to me, you who binds me to good. The Harappan seals indicate what the Harappan believer wanted from his God. Number 1, a good fate. 2, spiritual richness. 3, virtue. 4, humility. 5, perseverance. The inscriptions on the Harappan seals provide us with the necessary information to explore aspects of the religion of the Harappans of the Indus Valley. The Harappan writing is written in Tamil. The script is analogous to other writing systems used during the 3rd millennium BC and earlier. The grammatical emphasis on ritual and priesthood was alien to the Harappan environment. The Harappan seals indicate that the Proto-Dravidians, or Tamil, of the Indus Valley placed emphasis on the individual obtaining protection in the sight of his God. As a result, the Harappan man had to live righteously to find a place in the hereafter. Although it was the desire of the Harappans to drive towards righteousness, they fully understood that their personal deity determined their fate, or us. Although the major deity of the Harappans were cattle, many clans derived from hunting and gathering lifestyles continued to worship their own gods. This religious diversity made the Harappan society pluralistic, and this pluralism is signified by the various figures on the Harappan seals. The Harappan seal texts are very short. They usually number 3 or 4 signs per seal. In this way, they are similar to later Indian seals and their inscriptions studied by K.K. Thalpiliyar in Studies in Ancient Indian Seals. The seals in Thalpiliyar's book date back to 300 BC. Harappan texts are found in over 4,000 inscribed seals. The seals were armlets tied with string and carried or worn by the Harappan people. The Harappan writing is read from right to left. The existence of diverse religious traditions for the Harappans led to a remarkable spirit of tolerance. The existence of diverse totemic deities on the Harappan seals suggests that at the height of the civilization, temples for the bull, hare, tiger, and elephant gods coexisted, and festivals by the members of the different religions were conducted without conflict. The bull was the major Harappan deity due to the sedentary pastoral origins of many groups in the Indus Valley. Cattle probably represented security to the Tamil because whereas the collectible grasses disappear in much of Middle Africa, when arid conditions arrived around 5000 BC, cattle remained as a suitable source of food, since it could subsist from eating marginal grasses unfit for human consumption. That means that when the Harappans migrated from Africa to the Indus Valley, they brought with them their cattle. The Indus people possessed two species of domesticated cattle, Bos taurus and Bos indicus. Marshall notes that the use of cattle in the Indus Valley is a source of food. This view is supported by McKay, whose discoveries of Mohenjo-daro and Chandu-daro indicate that the people did consume cattle. The bull was sacred among the Harappans. The bull with horn thrust forward is the most popular engraved image on the Harappan seals. Today, the Dravidian language gives testimony to the form of worship of the bull. As a result of this form of worship of bulls, the word for bull is often associated with greatness in the Tamil language. For example, we have Piram and Eru. In the case of the Tamil morpheme muri, the term denotes bull, plus a vessel used in sacrifice. So as you can see, although Dravidians no longer worship the bull has a testimony within the language of the Tamil, which shows that it was one of the highest and most important deities of the people of ancient Harappa. The usual classes of the Harappan zoomorphic representations on the seals are the bull with horn thrust forward, or the so-called unicorn, water buffalo, short-horned buffalo, hump bull, elephant, rhino, tiger, lion, and mythological animals. Here you can see some of the common figures. The Harappan seals indicate that the most important goal of man is aram, the inclination or tendency to perform charitable acts. The Harappan sought righteousness and a spotlessly pure mind. Purity of mind is a sine qua non for happiness within. Harappan man, as indicated by the seals, was seeking the avoidance of all mental evils. For example, jealousy, covetousness, etc. The main fear of the Harappan people was a fear of evil deeds. Instinctively, this was the objective of the Harappans, to avoid any evils, to treat people with kindness and goodness. This was obtained when one shudders even at the idea of evil deeds instinctively. It appears that the Harappan man believed that man must do good and live a benevolent life, so he can obtain pukal, or fame, for his right doing. Through the adoption of benevolence, an individual obtained the reward of gaining the good things at the present world and the world beyond. Here we see the usual Harappan signs for Us, or fate. It's very important to remember that the Dravidians of the Indus Valley recognized two forms of fate, or the path of life. These forms were Pao, which means division or distribution, and Us, the comprehensive form of fate. The word Us signifies the dynamic force of God as determiner of his servant's fate and holder of the reins of power to dispense justice. Here you see in figure 4.1 some examples of Us from the Harappan seals. The Harappan Us corresponds to Usk, the life power aspect of faith. For example, see figure 4.1, we see in a sense number 1. In number 1, we have the reading of Vega Us Min Pukaus, or balance blooms fate, illumination and a glorious fate. Number 2 reads Tugave Us, make virtue blossom, faith. Number 3 reads, Tugaveus tutu, which means make virtue prosper. I hope to experience immaculateness. Number 4 reads, Tuga us amin us tuka, make virtue my faith. I hope to become illuminated so as to see, view, balance. Among the Dravidians during the writing of the Tao Kau Piam, Pau denoted karma. Pau was considered in Sangam times as the sum and the consequence of a person's action, i.e. his fate, destiny. The use of Pau to denote fate or the law of nature was also used by Tiruvalluvar. K. Apodure, in the mind and thought of Tiruvalluvar, noted that Pau is external form, is the Veda or word of God that makes everything perfect, undying, everlasting, and that forever grows, and is growing into eternal bliss. In figure 4.2, we have several examples of the use of Pa, or Pau, in the Harappan writing. Number 1 reads, Tave pa ipous, give me awareness, distribute it to me, now is my fate. Number 2 reads, Tave pa setus, give awareness, make the consequences of my life a pious and virtuous fate. Number 3 reads, Patu seus, distribute purity and rectitude is my fate. Number 4 reads, Paipo us tu, distribute now a fate encompassing much virtue or purity. Number 5 has us pau kumari us, God, you are justice. Dispense kumari as my fate. And then number 6 we read, Tave amin tatui uzpa, give me awareness, increase my illumination, and give me virtue. Make salvation my distribution, or karma. The Harappan philosophical use of ka gives it the meaning of balance or equality. This term ka among the Tamils is equal to total pious on all sides. Thus, when ka appears in the Harappan inscriptions, it refers to a balanced way of life, which gives man security and a healthy social life. The term ka also denotes a sense of protection, as is illustrated in figure 4.3. Number 1 reads, Yeka, abundant protection or abundant balance. Number 2 reads, Ka ielu tataus, balance thou, give it abundance, bring me a glorious fate. Number 3 reads, Ka iminu iseta, balance thou, give illumination, bring here rectitude. Number 4 reads, Ka iuis anal, balance thou, give the soul righteousness. Another major concern of the Dravidians of Harappa was the spiritual path to the next world. The term used in the Harappan seals is agapal, the inner path, which has to be taken by man to reach the other world. In figure 4.4, we give many examples of the use of agapal in the Harappan text. Number 1 reads, Ita ikagapal puve ipai, thou bring here the inner path, create prosperity, distribute it here. Number 2 reads, Ututaus paipoe min itai agapal tautataus, bring continuously virtue, make salvation my distribution. Give me a flourishing condition, give me thou illumination, bring here the path to the other world, bring a glorious fate. And number 3 we read, Amin imenigapal, I am to become enlightened. Give me thou illumination, the spiritual path. Number 4 we see, Povei agapal usau, create prosperity here. The spiritual path is the fate of your servant. And number 5 we read, Anal Iakob Akapalta, eminence thou give it, God, and place here agapao. The Harapans believed that the noble people will find a place in paradise. Thus on many seals we find mention of the Harapan paradise, or Kumari. Kumari is the mountainous sign for the Harapan paradise, probably resulted from the earlier habitation of the Proto-Dravidians in the Saharan highlands, before the Sahara became a desert. In figure 4 or 5, we give examples of the Harapan use of Kumari. In number 1, we read, Ipoi Kumari us. Thou give me a flourishing condition. Give Kumari as my fate. In number 2, we read, Pa Kumari us. God, dispense Kumari to me as my fate. Number 3, we read, Uspa Kumari us. God, you are justice. Dispense Kumari as my fate. And in number 4, we read, Tatu Kumari se uskave amin. Give me virtue, Kumari, make my fate blossom balance. It is to become illuminated indeed. Distribute this as my fate. As you can see, the Harapan seals are seals that inspired the Harapans to seek goodness. These seals inspired the Harapans to go for and to try to make sure that they were living a good life, a righteous life, a life in which they could find Pukal, so they could reach Kumari. In summary, my decipherment of the Harapan seals indicate that the seals and copper plates, tablets are amulets or talisman. They are messages addressed to the Dravidian gods of the Harapans, requesting for the bearer of the seal the support and assistance of his god in obtaining haram, or benevolence. As a result, each animal figure on the seals was probably a totemic deity of a particular Dravidian clan or economic unit that lived in the Harapan cities. As a result, even though the Harapans had different gods, each god was seen by his follower as one, a god having no equal. 2, a god having neither karma, and 3, as a god who is the ocean of haram, or benevolence. The Harapans believed that man must do good and live a benevolent life, so he could obtain Pukal fame for his right doings. Through the adoption of benevolence, an individual would obtain the reward of gaining the good things of life, the present world and the world beyond. In general, the Harapan seals let us know that the Harapans sought righteousness and a spotlessly pure mind. Purity of mind was a sin nunquam, or happiness within, for the Harapans. This is the inspiration of the Indus seals. The Indus Valley seals are written in Tamil. They represent an understanding of the earliest manifestations of the Tamil religion.